My name is Avery Langford, and I'm 29 years old. It started with a joke about beer that aged into something quieter and sharper. At a friend's backyard barbecue 14 months ago, Noah Pierce handed me a lukewarm IPA like a challenge coin. I wrinkled my nose. Hops taste like punishment, I said. He laughed, relieved, and countered with, "You like Old Noir?" We ended up standing under a string of patio lights reciting lines from Double Indemnity and pretending that meant we understood each other. That night felt like a promise. It was really a preview. The first 6 months were gold and soft edges. We binged black and white films and argued about which shadows were the most honest. He texted good morning before I'd found my glasses. We learned one another's food orders, alarms, and silences. But somewhere in the middle distance between month 6 and month 10, his silences learned how to interrogate. It began with a casual, "Who's that?" when my phone buzzed on the table during dinner, the way a cat watches a moth. Then, "Is that the new guy on your team?" when I mentioned a project. Then, "You were online at 2 a.m." when insomnia had me scrolling a thread about a marketing bug only nerds care about. Each question arrived wearing a sweater labeled concern. I didn't notice the label peeling off. I tried to be what people call a good partner. Transparency, patience, proof. I introduced him to the women on my team at a company mixer. I narrated my texting like a deranged sports announcer. That was my sister. She found a thrift store lamp that looks like a squid. We laughed. The lamp followed me home. The questions stayed. Last Thursday, we were at my place, couch cushions forming a valley between comfort and consequence. The TV washed the room in cool light. Noah had commandeered the blanket. His toes peeked out like cautious conclusions. We were watching his favorite series this time. Less shadows, more sarcasm. My phone was face down on the coffee table, a habit I'd picked up from meetings so I wouldn't accidentally read confidential figures upside down in a reflection. It buzzed. Just once, a small polite knock. He glanced at it, then at me. "Aren't you going to check?" "It can wait," I said. We had 8 minutes left of the episode. I liked the version of us who chose endings. It could be important. "If it is, they'll call," I said, and smiled like that was normal. He didn't smile back. The credits rolled, that long, slow scroll of names nobody reads. He paused the TV, and the room exhaled all at once. He turned to me with the stillness I'd learned to fear. Noah's calm was the kind of weather that gathers before a storm. "I need your phone password," he said. The words landed with the flat certainty of an invoice. I laughed before I could stop myself, a soft misread of tone. "What?" "If you have nothing to hide, it shouldn't be a problem," he said. He said it like math, like the square root of trust. I sat up straighter. "We've talked about this." "Privacy is just another word for secrets," he said, as if quoting scripture instead of insecurity. Honest people don't need privacy from their partners. The entitlement in it made something behind my ribs sit up and take notes. "That's not true, and you know it," I said. "I have work emails with NDAs attached. My friends talk to me about things that aren't yours to read, my banking apps." "So you are hiding something," he said, satisfied. "No, Noah," I said, letting my voice find a lower gear. "I'm maintaining healthy boundaries." He stood, the blanket falling away like a reveal. He reached for his jacket where it hung like an argument on the back of a chair. "I'm going to make this simple," he said, choosing the tone he used on tech support when he wanted to be remembered. "Give me your phone password right now, or we're done. I deserve to know what my girlfriend is doing." That word, deserve, arrived with a backstory and lousy shoes. 14 months together, and he dressed our relationship in an ultimatum that didn't fit either of us. He stood there, hand on his hip, certain I'd cave. Maybe the past version of me would have. The present version looked at the coffee table, the phone, the old noir DVDs in the bookshelf with their shadows teaching class, and realized there was a difference between compromise and confession. "Okay," I said. His shoulders dropped with relief. "Thank God, I knew you." "We're done then," I said. The words surprised even me with how clean they sounded. No italics, no wobble, just a period you could hang a coat on. His smile fell like a stage set. "What?" "You said give you my password or we're done. I choose done." "You're not serious." "Dead serious." He laughed, actually laughed, and looked around for witnesses who might remind me I was being dramatic. Finding none, he pivoted to pity. "You're really going to throw away what we have over 4 digits? That's so stupid, Avery." "You're the one who made the ultimatum," I said. I'm just accepting your terms. There's obviously something on there you don't want me to see, he said, triumph ready to bloom. Yes, I said, watching him blink at the admission. There are things that are mine. That's the point. He tried on fury. Every other guy would do this for his girlfriend. I'm not other guys, I said. The silence that followed was the hush of a theater when the lights go down and the audience realizes they're part of it. He cycled through the repertoire, the tears that weren't yet wet, the bargains with reused ribbon, the threat that tasted like metal. You'll regret this, he said finally, and meant it like a promise he couldn't afford to keep. I stood and crossed the small distance to the door. I opened it and looked at him like a stranger who had told me his train schedule uninvited. You should go. For 10 minutes, he performed the curriculum of manipulation. Tears first. How can you do this to me? Anger. You're such a... bargaining. Okay, maybe I overreacted. Let's talk. Threats. You'll be sorry. Guilt. After everything I've done for you. It was a carousel of tone. I didn't buy a ticket. I'm respecting both our decisions, I said every time. Good night, Noah. He grabbed his jacket like a weapon and moved into the hallway. He paused, turned back with a smile he used when waiters forgot his order. You'll call me tomorrow, he said, begging to get back together. And when you do, the price goes up. Password and location sharing or nothing. I won't be calling, I said, and closed the door gently enough to hear it click like a period. I stood with my hand on the wood until my heart matched the door's quiet. Then I walked back to the couch, picked up my phone, and did what needed to be done. Blocked his number. Blocked him on social. Blocked the emails that would arrive with subject lines like be reasonable and forgiveness. A clean break. No room for ambiguity to move in with a spare toothbrush. I sat for a moment, processing the shape of my new life. The apartment hummed like machines do when nobody is trying to make them perform. Outside, somewhere down the block, a siren threaded itself into the night. It sounded like distance. I poured myself water and drank it on the kitchen floor, back against the cabinet, the way people in movies sit after a bomb goes off. The only mess was inside me, and even that felt organized. My phone lay face up on the table, quiet now, polite. I could feel the future moving around in the dark like furniture you learn not to bump into. I thought about the small things he'd collected as leverage. My sleep schedule, the names of my coworkers, my insistence on walking home the long way to see a specific oak tree. I thought about the night I'd watched him scroll through his ex-girlfriend Melissa's photos and say, it's just curiosity. I'd believed him because jealousy looks different when you like the person wearing it. In the bedroom, the lamp threw an ellipse of light across the comforter. I slid beneath it and turned the bulb off. Silence arrived like a guest who knows how to be in a room. I expected to feel lonely. I felt relieved. Relief isn't dramatic, but it's thorough. In the dark, with the ceiling becoming the sky, because eyes are generous, I let my brain play its favorite game. Rearrange the day until it makes sense. The last move landed like a card in solitaire. Privacy isn't hiding. It's choosing who you are when nobody is auditioning you. I didn't know what would happen tomorrow. I suspected Noah did. Some people need to hear you say no in a way that doesn't leave an echo. I had, and it didn't. On my nightstand, my phone glowed once. An unknown number. I watched it buzz itself out and go still, like a bee that realizes the window is not a flower. I flipped the device to do not disturb and let the darkness seal the edges of the choice I'd made. I dreamed of film grain and sharp hats, and women who didn't give up the combination to their safes just because the hero asked nicely. In the morning, I would box up the few things he left here. In the afternoon, I would buy coffee that tasted like patience. In the evening, I would go for a walk and remember what the world sounds like when nobody is keeping score. For now, one sentence found me and curled itself around my spine like a guard dog. If love needs my password to live, it's already dead. By Sunday, the quiet felt suspicious. I had expected drama to echo, slammed doors, angry texts from new numbers, digital hauntings. But nothing came. No calls, no posts, no pity quotes about trust and betrayal. Just silence. The kind that almost convinces you the storm changed its mind. Then Monday morning arrived. My phone buzzed during a client meeting. Tommy, one of Noah's friends, flashing across the screen. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity itched. The message was polite at first, almost rehearsed. Hey, Avery, it's Tommy. Look, Noah's worried about you. He says there's been a misunderstanding. You know how he gets emotional. Maybe you two can just talk? I deleted it. By lunch, I'd gotten 2 more calls from his sister Rebecca and his coworker Jenna, both chirping the same script. He's hurting. He didn't mean it. You're overreacting. Each one ended with the same soft threat disguised as kindness. You'll regret throwing this away. It was stunning how fast compassion turns into conspiracy when pride gets bruised. Tuesday brought escalation. My work email pinged at 10:07 a.m. Subject line, important? Family matter. I opened it before common sense could stop me. It was from Diane Pierce, Noah's mother. Dear Avery, I know relationships can be complicated, especially when emotions run high. Noah told me what happened. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. You should be patient with him. He's been through a lot. A good woman doesn't give up on someone over something so small. Real love means transparency and forgiveness. Best, Diane. The audacity of being lectured by a woman I'd met twice who once called me sweet but too independent would have been funny if it weren't so invasive. I forwarded it to HR with a note, for documentation purposes. Then I blocked her too. Wednesday morning was quiet again. Too quiet. That's when the singing started. At 10:42, the receptionist called up. Avery, there's, someone here for you? Someone? When I stepped into the lobby, the someone was a young man in a tuxedo, holding a ukulele and an envelope. He smiled apologetically. You're Avery Langford? Yes? He strummed once, nervously. This is from a Mr. Noah Pierce. The song began. It was some tragic parody of Baby Come Back. Only the lyrics had been personalized. Give me your code, I was wrong. Prove your heart where it belongs. By the time he got to the chorus, every head in the office had popped up over cubicle walls like prairie dogs. Someone was filming. Someone else was trying not to laugh. I stood perfectly still, heart thudding so hard it felt like applause. When the song ended, he handed me a note. I was wrong. You were right. Let's start over. N. I tipped him $20 because it wasn't his fault and walked back upstairs like I'd just watched my dignity perform karaoke. That night, I made a new folder on my desktop. Evidence, the musical. Thursday should have been recovery day. Instead, it was a full-blown circus. At 9:00 a.m., my neighbor texted me a photo. A small group standing outside the building, holding handmade signs. Love means transparency. Honk for second chances. And the unforgettable Avery plus Noah equals password protected forever. I almost laughed. Almost. When I arrived home, they were still there. Noah in the center, dressed in the shirt I'd once bought him for his birthday, flanked by his sister Rebecca, her friend Natalie, and 2 other women I didn't recognize. As I got out of my car, their heads turned in unison like sunflowers tracking regret. Avery, Noah called, waving a bouquet of grocery store flowers. Please, just 5 minutes. I didn't stop walking. This is harassment. He followed. It's love. I'm trying to show you how serious I am. Serious people don't bring backup dancers, I said flatly. The women chimed in like a choir of enablers. Come on, Avery, he's really sorry. He hasn't eaten in days. This is romantic. I reached my building door. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Noah's face hardened. You wouldn't. Try me. He dropped the bouquet. The petals scattered across the pavement like confetti after a failed parade. I stepped inside the building and closed the door behind me. Through the glass, I watched Rebecca pick up the flowers while Noah argued with her, his gestures jerky and frantic. They stayed for another hour before finally leaving. My security app caught everything. When the silence returned, it didn't feel like peace yet, but it was the outline of it. Friday morning, I woke to a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. No one there, just a plain envelope on the floor. Inside, a single handwritten note. I can't stop thinking about you. I just need to understand why you'd choose secrets over love. You're the only one who ever made me feel safe. I'll wait until you remember that. It wasn't love. It was surveillance dressed in longing. I added the letter to the folder. Then I brewed coffee, fed Buster, and sat by the window watching the sun climb over the street like it was just another ordinary day. That was the first time I realized something important. Noah didn't want closure. He wanted control dressed as reconciliation. And I wasn't giving it back. For a few days, Noah's silence felt like a ceasefire. But peace, I was learning, can sometimes be just the eye of a storm. It began with a phone call on a Thursday morning. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. When I answered, the voice was soft, professional. Hello, is this Avery Langford? This is Dr. Patricia Camp, Noah's therapist. My stomach dropped. A therapist? I repeated. Yes, she continued. Noah's very distressed about the abrupt end of your relationship. He's asked me to reach out so you two can have a healthy closure conversation. I hung up mid-sentence. A few seconds later, another text came through. He just wants to talk, Avery. Please don't shut him out. Noah had either convinced his therapist to cross every ethical line imaginable, or he was impersonating one. I took a screenshot. Evidence folder. By Friday, the messages evolved into handwritten letters slipped under my door. Each one had the same rhythm: remorse, self-pity, manipulation. You made me crazy with your silence. You broke something in me I can't fix. I can't sleep without knowing what I did wrong. I wanted to scream that I'd already told him what he did wrong, that boundaries weren't puzzles to be solved. But I didn't respond, not even once. Still, he found new ways to reach through the walls. Saturday, 11:15 p.m., pounding on my door. I froze. Avery, open up. His voice slurred, angry and broken all at once. I didn't move. I just grabbed my phone and hit record. You can't ignore me forever. I loved you. You don't just walk away from that. He laughed bitterly. Fine. Stay in your little fortress. See if your secrets keep you warm. Then silence, and the faint shuffle of footsteps retreating down the hall. My phone kept recording for another full minute before I stopped it. Another file, another entry. The evidence folder was starting to look like a documentary. Sunday morning, I finally filed the police report. The officer behind the glass counter looked like he'd seen this before, 100 variations of obsession masquerading as heartbreak. He typed as I spoke, fingers steady, voice neutral. Has he threatened violence? No. Has he damaged property? No. He sighed softly. Then this is documentation only for now. Keep everything. If he continues, you can file for a restraining order. I nodded, pretending that sentence made me feel safer. But nothing prepared me for the next scene. Tuesday night, I was halfway through folding laundry when there was a knock. Not at the front door this time, but at the basement entrance. It was nearly midnight. My stomach knew before my brain caught up. He was standing there, eyes hollow, shirt wrinkled, clutching a crumpled piece of paper. We need to talk, Noah said. No, I replied, calm and flat. You need to leave. He stepped closer. Just tell me why. Why was your privacy more important than us? It wasn't, I said quietly. It was more important than losing myself. He laughed, but it cracked halfway through. You're so dramatic. I just wanted honesty. You wanted control. Something inside him broke then, his face twisted between rage and sadness. Other women would have given me their passwords. And that's why you're not with them, I said. He stared at me, searching for some flicker of the girl who used to love him, maybe hoping I'd reach out and fix the hole he'd dug himself into. But there was nothing left to give. Finally, he whispered, You know what's pathetic? I don't even know what I was hoping to find. I didn't flinch. Peace, maybe. You should start there. He left without another word. The basement door clicked shut behind him. I stood still for a long time, the hum of the dryer, the only sound left. Then I went back to folding. Every shirt, every sock, every quiet piece of my ordinary life, neatly stacked again. When I got back upstairs, I opened my evidence folder one last time. Voice recordings, screenshots, photos of letters. Proof that I hadn't imagined any of it. Proof that silence could be louder than shouting. I renamed the folder, Recovery. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night. For 3 quiet weeks, it felt like Noah had finally given up. No calls, no letters, no bouquets left to wilt at my doorstep. Even Buster, my dog, seemed to sense it. He stopped growling at every sound in the hallway. The air in the apartment felt breathable again, like I'd opened a window after months of fog. I started to believe it was over. But peace, I was learning, doesn't end with silence. It ends with acceptance. And Noah wasn't there yet. It was a rainy Friday when I saw him again. I was at a coffee shop near my office, laptop open, trying to lose myself in spreadsheets and deadlines. The door chimed, and the sound made my stomach turn before my brain even registered why. He was there, same face, different energy, less arrogance, more desperation. He looked smaller somehow, his hair messy, eyes sunken, like he hadn't slept in days. He spotted me instantly. Avery, he said softly, as if the word itself was a plea. I closed my laptop. You shouldn't be here. I just want to talk. You've wanted that every time you showed up uninvited. It's not happening. He slid into the seat across from me anyway. A small puddle formed where his jacket dripped onto the table. You don't understand, he said, voice trembling. You broke me. You walked out like none of it mattered. I walked out because it did matter, I said evenly, because what we had turned into a test I never agreed to take. Noah ran a hand through his hair. You think I'm the bad guy? I think you're a man who doesn't know the difference between love and control. He laughed bitterly. You and your speeches. Always so composed, like you're better than everyone else. I'm just done explaining myself, I replied. That's not superiority. That's exhaustion. He stared at me, eyes flicking between fury and heartbreak. You made me feel like I was crazy for caring. You weren't crazy for caring, I said softly. You were cruel for calling it love. The words landed like a slap. For a moment, I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Shame, maybe, or just recognition. He reached for my hand. I pulled back. Don't, I said. Please. He nodded, jaw tightening, fighting tears. I just wanted to feel safe. You wanted to feel in control. That's not the same thing. His shoulders slumped. You think you're so healed now. No, I said, but I'm healing in peace, not chaos. The silence that followed was heavy and human. When he finally stood, he looked older, like grief had worn him down into something unrecognizable. He didn't say goodbye. He just left. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger or fear, only pity. That night, I came home, took Buster for a walk, and sat on the couch in the quiet glow of the streetlights bleeding through the blinds. My phone buzzed once, a new message from an unknown number. Thank you for listening today. I won't bother you again. I didn't reply, but I didn't block him either. Not out of hope, but closure. The next morning, I deleted every file in the evidence folder. Not because it didn't matter, but because I was done archiving pain. In its place, I started a new folder, Beginnings. Inside it, I dropped photos of the small things that had survived the chaos. Buster asleep on the couch, a half-finished painting from an art class I'd taken, a screenshot of the first sunrise I watched alone without feeling lonely. Healing, I realized, wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, subtle, undeniably mine. And Noah, whatever ghost of him remained, was just a lesson wrapped in noise. It's strange how silence feels different once you stop waiting for the next knock. For weeks, every creak in the hallway made my chest tighten. Every unknown number made my pulse skip. But now, silence is comfort. Silence is mine. Buster's soft snores fill the apartment at night. I started leaving my phone in another room. No buzzing, no fear of what might light up the screen. Life began to look normal again, though normal had been redefined. 2 months after that final coffee shop encounter, I ran into Noah's sister at the farmer's market. She looked surprised to see me, then relieved. Avery, she said quietly, he's better now. Therapy, meds, the works. He moved back in with Mom for a while. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. I hope he keeps getting better, I said simply. Because the truth was, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted distance. As I walked away, I noticed something about myself. My steps were light. My shoulders weren't tight. My hands didn't shake anymore. Healing doesn't announce itself. It just arrives one morning, uninvited but welcome. 3 weeks later, a new message appeared in my inbox. Subject line, professional opportunity. It was from a local art gallery. They'd seen my portfolio through a mutual friend. Your paintings capture something raw, the curator wrote. Would you consider a small feature in our upcoming exhibit? I almost didn't believe it. For months, I'd painted quietly at night, using color the way people use prayer, to say things too painful to speak aloud. I said yes. The night of the exhibit, I stood among strangers, sipping cheap champagne. My work, 6 canvases, each layered in fragments of memory, hung under warm light. A woman in a gray scarf stopped beside me, studying one of the pieces. This one feels like letting go, she said. I smiled. It is. She introduced herself. Eli, a freelance journalist covering local artists. She was easy to talk to, no pressure, no hidden tests, just real conversation. When she asked about the story behind the art, I hesitated for a moment, then said, It's about boundaries, and what happens when you finally enforce them. She nodded like she understood exactly. Before she left, she said, You paint like someone who's survived something and turned it into light. That sentence stayed with me. Later that night, I walked home alone under soft rain, carrying a small bouquet someone had left at my table. I unlocked my apartment, kicked off my shoes, and glanced at the folder on my desk. Beginnings. It was fuller now. Photos, sketches, messages from people who'd seen my art and felt seen by it. I wasn't the woman who argued at her own doorway anymore. I wasn't the woman checking her phone for proof of peace. I was the woman who learned that privacy isn't selfish, it's sacred. The world hadn't become safer. I had just learned to stop handing it my keys. I turned off the lights, curled up with Buster, and whispered almost to myself, "Peace doesn't ask for passwords."